Hey, what's up? This is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel. And who's ready for some fighting words? In this video, I want to talk about David Benavidez and what could be next. Really quick, if you like the videos, please take the time to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. If you have, thank you. If you have recently, thank you and welcome. Also, hit that thumbs up button. It really does help support this channel. And let's talk about this. David Benavidez, his last time in the ring was with Caleb Plant. It had a great showing, had a great fight. There was a lot leading up to that fight, and it lived up to all the hype. Was there a knockout? No, but it was a real fight. It was a brutal fight. And, you know, it took a lot out of both guys, and it showed a lot of skill on both guys' part. So it did live up to the hype. He didn't get a finish, but it did live up to the hype. Just because you get a finish, sometimes you don't necessarily live up to the hype. This is one of those fights where it was money well spent on the behalf of the consumers, you and myself. Now, I guess the question is, what's next? Now, we all know what he's been clamoring for. We all know what we've been asking for. We want the Canelo fight. Do I think that's coming next? No, I don't think that's coming next. So Jaime Munguia just fought, and he took on Sergey Dermachenko, in which case it was a tough fight. There are some people who are saying it could have gone both ways. I feel like he did enough to win, but it was a great test, and it really shows where he's at as a fighter and where he should be considered and who he should take on next. He has been progressing very well. He has a lot of fights under his belt, but he hasn't fought anybody, you know, on the level of Dermachenko, and he passed the test. Now, he said he would like to take on David Benavidez, in which case David Benavidez has been asking for a Mexican fight for a long time with Canelo Alvarez. Of course, he's not going to get that fight, and as we all know, just screaming for a fight against Canelo Alvarez doesn't get you a fight with Canelo Alvarez. But like I've said in the past, if you just knock off the competition by default alone, you would have that big money fight because there's nowhere else for him to run or crawl, and there's no one else for him to fight. Simple as that. So he would have no other choice. He could either vacate, you know, run to another division, which he's no stranger to, or he could fight you. So that being said, you're not getting a Canelo fight. Jaime Munguia is totally free. He's just shown himself. He's shown himself worthy. He's now stepped up in the ranks of competition. So why not make this fight happen? You said you want to fight another Mexican. You said you want to fight a big name. And I think Jaime Munguia is a big name. I think he's on par with David Benavidez. I do think David Benavidez is more of a draw, but he is on par with David Benavidez, and he provides everything that David Benavidez provides in terms of action, in terms of fanfare, in terms of money well spent. Packing some seats. I think him and David Benavidez would make a really great fight. David's bigger, but I think it'd be a fun fight for however long it lasts. I don't see this going a distance if those two were to fight. I think David Benavidez has faster hands. I think he's more fluid with his shots. I think he's just a better combination type fighter. I do think he's the heavier-handed of the two, and I most definitely think he's the more durable of the two. And he's also, not to, you know, totally downslide and bash Jaime Munguia, but I feel like David Benavidez is a lot more durable. He's just a big dude. So I mean, he's probably gonna finish out his career heavyweight. You know, maybe. He's just a big dude. So with that being said, I don't see too many ways in which Jaime Munguia would be. I think he would be competitive, but I think he'd be competitive for a few rounds, and I think he would succumb to just a lot of forward pressure. I think he would come to a very sustained and vicious body attack. I think he would succumb to just the fact of, you know, guys like Jaime Munguia who are used to doing the stalking, used to backing guys down. I think it does play. I can tell you personally, you know, just being in a ring, it does play on you when you're being backed up. And you have a guy who's throwing a lot of punches at you and who's only going to throw more punches as the rounds go on. You know, don't look at David Benavidez and his shape and think, well, you know, he's not conditioned to do X, Y, and Z in the ring. Wrong. He has pretty solid cardio, actually, for his size. He may not look like he's the most in shape. He may not be the most muscular guy in the world, but he's a marathon runner. He can easily do 12 rounds, and he has a no-quit mentality. Now, I've said all that, but Jaime Munguia is no walk in the park, and Jaime Munguia has a lot of fights under his belt. Also, Jaime Munguia is a true Mexican warrior. He's not the type of guy. Now, he's not the. I mean, I think the Sergey fight was the closest that I've seen him in trouble. And, Sergey pushed him in a lot of ways. And one of the ways that it pushed him was, the pace. And also somebody who's not saying that he's only fought guys who've come for a check, but I will say, you're talking about a guy who has a ton of experience and could approach the situation in many different ways. In which case he fought through that adversity, and he persevered and he got the win. However, I have to be fair. The Dermashenko who fought Jaime Munguia is a lot older. He's not the same Dermashenko who took on Charlo. They're not the same guy. He's a lot slower. He's older. He still has the fire inside, but it's a different fighter. It's a different fighter. And quite frankly, I feel like the Dermashenko who took on Charlo was a little tougher. I just feel like age caught up to him. After a while, he started to look his age in certain ways. But still, nonetheless, a very tough, very skillful guy. You can't take those things from him. And he definitely pushed Jaime Munguia. And he's pushed him in a way that he's never been pushed before. And it was a great test. And I think this would be a natural progression. So if he were to take on David Benavidez, well, now we're looking at a true fight. We're looking at two guys who are young, prime, strong, big, aggressive, punchers, pressure fighters. Jaime Munguia is a lot more of a patient type of fighter. He's not huge on combinations, but he is very precise. He is very accurate. He knows what he's targeting. I can give him that. But when I look at David Benavidez, I just don't see Jaime Munguia beating him. Benavidez used to be the sparring partner for Triple G years ago. So, in other words, prime Triple G, he used to be the sparring partner for him when he was younger. Not as a professional, when he was just younger. So that puts him, I don't think people give David Benavidez the credit that he deserves, because, just the people whom he has sparred in the past and the tender age in which he was sparring them on a regular basis. These guys had names. These guys were established, and he was sparring those guys. So, Jaime Munguia, yeah, that's a fun little thought, but that's not the most. I wouldn't put him in there with a David Benavidez. I would need to see more cracks of David Benavidez. There's a few things that I saw in the Caleb Plant fight, like the overstepping, where he's off balance. Jaime Munguia, the one thing I would say about Jaime Munguia, he's not off balance. He's never off balance. He's not that type of guy. Again, he's not throwing a ton of punches either to be off balance. Very precise, very meticulous in the ring. David Benavidez can get off balance. David Benavidez, in my personal opinion, in that fight with Caleb Plant, he continued to overstep himself. He continued to punch out of range. And then there were points in the fight where he looked a little desperate, where I felt like he was trying to force the KO. And I don't think Jaime Munguia is the type of guy you force KOs with. Again, he's very accurate. Is he going to have a crazy pace? No. But is he going to battle you back? Absolutely, he's going to battle you back. Again, we saw that in the Dermashenko fight. So, although I do favor Benavidez to win against Jaime Munguia, I think that's only based upon he doesn't get over anxious. He doesn't overstep. He doesn't get overly aggressive, just trying to fan please. And I think he needs to take every round by round. I think he still needs to have a game plan. I think I would favor David Benavidez in later rounds, but honestly, I would give it a tie in the early rounds, and that means that Jaime Munguia has every bit of chance to win the fight, especially early. and he has the power to put guys down, and David Benavidez has been down. So the question is, if Jaime Munguia were to put David Benavidez down, could he keep him down? And I do believe, I believe he has the power to put Munguia down. Munguia, to my knowledge, hasn't been down, but I do believe he could put him down. Like I said, he's a very heavy-handed guy. He's not a one-punch knockout guy, but he's still nonetheless a heavy-handed guy. And when you're talking about a guy who's just peppering you with punches all night long, so it adds up. There's accumulation process when it comes to David Benavidez. So it's a risky fight for Munguia, but all the reward if he were to win, or even make it, extremely competitive. Because now you take all that monster stuff away from David Benavidez. And if you were to win, well, that would be attached to you. So all the reward for Munguia, and he's young too. He's young. They're both young guys, but I believe Munguia is younger than David Benavidez. But yeah, tell me what you think about that. Drop your thoughts down below. I want to know what you think about Jaime Munguia facing off with David Benavidez. Do you favor him to beat David Benavidez or not? Tell me why. Drop your thoughts down below. As always, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Please like, please share, please subscribe to this channel.